Hey guys, it's Miss Kim or Mimi Kim, and yes, I have my Mickey Mouse hat on today because I thought we could read a Disney book. As you know, it is my favorite. So we are going to read Pinocchio. I hope you like Pinocchio. I love Pinocchio, and I haven't read it in a while, so I thought that would be a great one to read. All right, here we go. Look at all that scenery. So beautiful. Once upon a time in a quaint little village, a beautiful wishing star, which you see in the book, shone brightly in the evening sky. A cricket named Jiminy wandered along the village streets. He saw a lighted window and he went inside. Oh, look at all those cool toys. Jiminy Cricket looked around amazed. He had stumbled on a woodcarver's shop full of fantastic clocks, cute little music boxes, and a shelf after shelf of toys. The shop belonged to a kindly old Geppetto. Whoa. Look at the fish. Geppetto took his paintbrush and he carefully painted on eyebrows and a mouth. Figaro, his cat, and Cleo, the goldfish, watched as he worked. I just have the name for you, Geppetto said when he finished. Pinocchio. He's a wooden doll, by the way. Oh, he's saying his prayers. Geppetto put Pinocchio away for the night. Then he and Figaro climbed into bed. Geppetto stared out the window, looking up at the sky. It's the wishing star, he cried. Then Geppetto made a wish. Uh-oh. Geppetto slept, and he dreamed about his wish. He had wished that Pinocchio might be a real boy. Suddenly, a brilliant light filled Geppetto's room. It sparkled and grew into the beautiful blue fairy. Good, Geppetto, the fairy said. You deserve to have your wish come true. She waved her magic wand over Pinocchio, saying, Little puppet made of pine, wake. This is the gift of mine. Oh, there's the fairy. Suddenly, Pinocchio lifted his arms and he spoke. Am I a real boy? He asked. No, the fairy explained. First, you must prove yourself brave, truthful, and unselfish. You must learn to choose between the right and the wrong. Let's see how that goes. The blue fairy told Pinocchio that he must let his conscience be his guide. And with a little coaxing from the blue fairy, Jiminy Cricket, see Jiminy Cricket, agreed to be his conscience. Then she was gone. Okay, Jiminy's got to help him out. There he is. Geppetto, hearing strange noises, jumped out of bed, and when he got to his workshop, he saw his little puppet dancing around and singing. Geppetto lifted Pinocchio into the air and hugged him close. The next morning, Geppetto walked Pinocchio outside, and he pointed to all the children passing by. They're going to school, he exclaimed. Now that you're a little boy, you must go to school too. Oh boy. There he is, ready for school. Hoping to make Geppetto proud, Pinocchio hurried off. He didn't realize that his two sneaky-looking characters were watching him. A live puppet with no strings, the fox said. We can sell him to Stromboli, the puppeteer. Uh-oh. Sounds like trouble for Pinocchio. The fox tripped Pinocchio with his cane. I am J. Worthington Foulfellow, but my friends call me Honest John, he explained. And this is Gideon, he added, pointing to the cat standing by his side. Pinocchio looked up at Honest John. I have to get to school, he explained. Honest John convinced Pinocchio that school was a waste of time. Come with us, he said. We're going to make you a star. I don't think they're very trustworthy. Look at them. Back at Geppetto's workshop, Jiminy Cricket hurried into his coat and hat, and he ran out the door. He saw Honest John, Gideon, and Pinocchio heading down the street in the wrong direction. Uh-oh. Not looking good for Pinocchio. So Jiminy Cricket caught up with Pinocchio and he tried to change his mind, but it was too late. Honest John had convinced Pinocchio to go on stage. They were going to see Stromboli the puppeteer. And there they go. Honest John led Pinocchio right into Stromboli's little greedy hands. That night, Pinocchio made his stage debut with Jiminy Cricket in the audience. Everyone was amazed to see a singing, dancing puppet with no strings. There they go. When the show was over, the crowd applauded wildly, and he threw gold coins at Pinocchio's feet. Pinocchio loved all the attention, and Stromboli loved all the money the little puppet made him. Later that night, Pinocchio couldn't wait to get home and tell Geppetto all about his new career. When Stromboli heard Pinocchio talking about going home, he threw him in a cage and he locked the door. Uh-oh. I knew trouble was coming. There he is. As Pinocchio cried and called out for Jiminy, the cricket sneaked into Stromboli's wagon. Jiminy couldn't believe his eyes, and when he saw Pinocchio locked in the cage... Aww. Meanwhile, poor Geppetto was so worried about his little son, he went out to search for Pinocchio. And look, it's raining there just like it is here today. Back at the Stromboli's wagon, as Jiminy was trying to free Pinocchio, the blue fairy appeared. When she asked Pinocchio why he hadn't gone to school, Pinocchio told so many lies that his nose started to grow. Look at that, it even has leaves on it. Pinocchio promised that he would never lie again. The blue fairy agreed to give him another chance. Then she disappeared once more. Jiminy and Pinocchio jumped down from the cage and ran home as fast as they could. Uh-oh. In a nearby tavern, Honest John and Gideon were meeting with the coachman who liked to lure boys to Pleasure Island. The coachman promised Honest John and Gideon money if they would help him and find some boys. Soon Honest John and Gideon were back on the streets, where they spotted Gideon. Pretending that Pinocchio looked sickly, Honest John convinced the little puppet that he needed some rest and relaxation on Pleasure Island. Uh-oh. Here we go again. Honest John and Gideon led Pinocchio down the street. They told him all about the wonders of Pleasure Island. Games, toys, candy, rides, and it was all free. Poor Jiminy tried to catch up with them. Outside the village, Honest John turned Pinocchio over to the coachman. Pinocchio climbed aboard a stagecoach filled with boys, and the coachman cracked his whip, and off they went to Pleasure Island. While the boys arrived on Pleasure Island, they could hardly believe their eyes. There were no grown-ups around to tell them what to do. The boys could be as bad as they liked. Pinocchio soon made friends with a boy named Lampwick. If my mother could see me now, she would have a fit, he explained to Pinocchio, who was about to sample some sugary treats. While Pinocchio was busy with Lampwick, Jiminy Cricket explored the island. He came upon the coachman giving orders to his men. "Shut the doors and lock them tight." Jiminy knew that he had to find Pinocchio right away. "Pinocchio! Pinocchio!" Jiminy called, looking around the dark, deserted place. "Where is everybody?" Jiminy saw a light in the pool hall. There, he found Pinocchio and Lampwick playing pool. "We're coming right home with me," Jiminy cried. Lampwick laughed. "You're taking orders from a grasshopper?" Poor Pinocchio was caught between his new friend and his conscience. Way out there, Jiminy saw the coachman and his men putting donkeys in crates. "You boys will bring me a nice price," the coachman smiled. Jiminy realized that the donkeys were the boys of the Pleasure Island. Jiminy ran back to warn Pinocchio, but it was too late. Lampwick had already changed into a donkey. Poor Pinocchio stared in horror as he sprouted his own set of donkey ears and a tail. Oh no. Look at that. He's already got a tail and ears. That's not good. Quick, we've got to get out of here, said Jiminy. Pinocchio and Jiminy Cricket raced across the now deserted island, leaving the coachman and donkeys behind. They climbed up the sea rocks and they jumped into the sea. Thank goodness for Jiminy Cricket. The pair, they finally reached the shore and they headed for home, but when they arrived, Geppetto was nowhere to be found. A dove flying overhead dropped a letter. See the dove? Dropped a letter for Pinocchio. Let's see what that letter says. I can get the page apart. Here we go. Ooh, look at all the fish. The letter said that Geppetto had gone looking for Pinocchio and been swallowed by a whale named Monstro. Pinocchio and Jiminy headed back to the sea. At the bottom of the ocean, they began their search for Monstro. Pinocchio and Jiminy asked every fish and sea creature where to find Monstro, but no one would help them. Soon Pinocchio spotted Monstro just as the monster was waking up. Ooh. Meanwhile, deep inside the belly, can you see the inside of his belly? See how he has all the ribs and the belly? There isn't a fish left, he explained to poor starving Figaro and Cleo. If the monster doesn't wake up soon, I'm afraid we are done for it. Suddenly, Monstro started to swim and he was ready for lunch. He opened his gigantic jaws and sucked in an entire school of fish, and Pinocchio was along with them. Pinocchio and the fish swam down his throat into his giant belly, and when they got there, Pinocchio found himself in the arms of a very happy Geppetto. "We've got to get out of here," Pinocchio said. "But how?" Then Pinocchio had an idea. He began chopping up furniture. We'll start a fire and we'll make a lot of smoke. Then Monstro will wake up and sneeze us out. Pretty good idea. See if it works. There's the whale. Monstro soon felt the fire in his belly. Inside, everyone quickly jumped into a raft that Geppetto had built and paddled toward the whale's throat. When Monstro let out an enormous sneeze, he blew the raft out to sea. Monstro was furious seeing that raft bobbing up ahead, and he smashed it into pieces. But Pinocchio, holding on to Geppetto's, swam with all his might, and he led Monstro into a collision with the rocks. Whew, that was close. Pinocchio had made sure that Geppetto got safely to shore. But when Geppetto looked around for his little son, he found him laying face down in the water. Geppetto picked Pinocchio up and he carried him home. Aww. Once inside, Geppetto had Pinocchio on his bed. Suddenly, the blue fairy appeared. She waved her wand over Pinocchio, saying, "You have proven yourself brave, truthful, and unselfish. Now you will become a real boy." There he is. The lifeless wooden boy was suddenly transformed into a real little boy. Geppetto wound his music boxes and they all began to dance. What a celebration they had. The woodcarver, his son, the cat, and the goldfish. And there's old Jiminy. He's a happy boy too. Aww. And now they're all happy together. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed that. I love Pinocchio, and I haven't read it in a long time. I miss everyone, and I hope you're being good to your parents and minding them and still working on all the things you need to work on for school. Love you. Mwah.